eyes are on Annapolis today as juvenile crime takes center stage. The Department of Juvenile Services Secretary Vincent Schiraldi in the hot seat, facing questions over whether his agency can effectively track young offenders in its custody.
It comes more than a month after a tense hearing revealed significant gaps in accountability and tracking in DJS. Good evening. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost sat in on that hearing today. She joins us live again from the State House with some details. Mackenzie.
Yeah, Mary and Kai, lawmakers questioned DJS Secretary Vincent Schiraldi about why the agency isn't tracking all of the performance metrics. The agency says it's a result of an old data management system. However, DJS does not provide a timeline for an update. We also learned that the secretary himself didn't know certain cases were being closed, and we questioned him how that was possible.
Good afternoon. This is the House Judiciary Committee.
Another briefing about a report showing the Department of Juvenile Services does not have the proper tracking in place to know how juveniles are doing in various programs.
All right.
DJS Secretary Vincent Schiraldi quick to lay responsibility at the feet of his predecessor for most of the problems.
Much, but not all, of the data the report reviewed predates my tenure here.
The report shows the juveniles whose cases are resolved at intake and referred to contracted community-based services account for about 30% of the total, meaning there's no record of kids being sent to services for 70% of the cases. Schiraldi pushing back on the notion that nothing is being done for those juveniles.
It is wrong that we cannot quantify that the way we should be able to. That is, I absolutely agree with the OPEGA report on that, but that does not mean that those kids aren't getting services.
Chair of the committee, Delegate Luke Clippinger, pressed Schiraldi on tracking young people that have their cases resolved at intake.
A whole bunch of our kids are one and done, somewhere around 70 to 75%. We could spend a lot of time following up on them, and then we'd have less time to follow up on a bunch of other kids. So at some point we say, we're going to refer this kid, it's their first offense, and we're not going to spend a lot of resources on this kid.
You said that 75% of the time, a person who is resolved at intake doesn't come back again. After how long?
Right. Never. To our knowledge, never.
Yeah, I'd like a little bit more information about that. I'd like a little bit more information about the follow-up that happens when in the delegate's example, they're resolved at intake because they are being diverted to some program. Who's following up with the program on the backside?
It's been 1 month since senators first questioned the secretary about this same report. In that time, Secretary Schiraldi says non-contracted programs have been identified and added to a database, and one key change has been made. Cases are no longer closed when families don't show up to court.
This was one area where the OPEGA report rang a bell for us, and I was like, is this true? I didn't know this one.
After the hearing,
how is it possible that you didn't know that that was happening in your own agency?
What's happening here is that these are the young people who are the least risky kids being brought into our system. Generally, first offense misdemeanor cases that are very sort of low level and they're low risk kids. So I paid most of my attention during the first 2 years on tackling the most serious and risky kids at risk of gun violence, and we've moved the dial on that in a way that I think is very important, and that's the public safety area I chose to focus on. And as time goes on, I picked new areas to focus on, and this will now be an important thing to pay attention to.
But during the briefing, the secretary said the report that was published in December is what brought this issue to his attention. And as juvenile justice concerns continue and calls for his resignation remain, Secretary Schiraldi says he's here for as long as the governor wants him.
Has there been any conversations with the governor about looking for other employment on your behalf?
No, there has not.
The only question is, how long will the governor stand by Secretary Schiraldi to lead the Department of Juvenile Services?
Now, earlier this month, I asked Governor Westmore about his view of the secretary at this moment, given all of the concerns surrounding DJS. The governor said he recognizes that there still needs to be more reforms made to the agency, but he would not answer the question about how long he would stand by Secretary Schiraldi himself. And throughout this hours-long hearing and briefing, lawmakers did not ask one question about the use of ankle monitors or how many staff members are monitoring those kids on those monitors as well. Live in Annapolis, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
I'm Mary Bubala. Thank you for watching. Here's another video for you to watch. Also take some time to subscribe to our YouTube channel.